I'm Rich. I build stuff. And something a little different for this channel. I'm going to try to do a one-shot video this time. But of what? Well, this guy right here. Oh great, it's another frickin' unboxing video. Oh, come on. I gotta get through that pile of shame somehow.
And get through we do by opening the box, looking at the instructions, then pulling out all the sprues like a kid at Christmas before looking upon the balls of steel that are less numerous and softer than mine. Then looking at the cuttable, sadly not pre-cut masks, and some tricks and tips, not tricks for turning, sadly. And then instructions that are on the top of the box, and then the actual instruction pamphlet that I barely consult to my own detriment before finally picking a model piece, and like a guy going at the happiest looking lobster in the tank, picking that one to get eaten and consumed in this kit. Before I go ahead and do some of that fine detailing work and some additional fine detailing work with the drill just to accentuate these holes in the petals. By, of course, drilling all those little holes out and then smoothing them out with a knife using it like a burring tool. Before using some glue to smooth it out and then gluing things together and using tweezers to put them in place. As the camera kind of settles a bit, that's why it's moving over this time scale. Because, well, the mounting of it sucks and that's a problem I'm going to have to solve. And yeah, then I go ahead and do some final touching of a piece before I interrupt the video here.
I gotta interrupt the video real quick. So, two elephants to address in the room. Well, really one. Yeah, this video was so late, real life gets in the way. But this would have been out maybe a week earlier. But Shinsaku Tamiya died. And I just wanted to take time to say that I hope that, hope the guy's in a better place than this. And the more I hear about the guy, the more I like. And yeah, I could have had more clicks by releasing this like sooner, like maybe right after, because everyone's gonna be looking up the word Tamiya, which this kit is from. But to me, that'd be a dick move. So at least for one of the weeks of this video being later than what I attempt to do, I hope you'll forgive me for that.
I'm sure y'all do. And then I go ahead and I glue the cockpit bits together. And I was going to have a little rant about them, but, well, work on pieces, get rid of those, the finest and thinnest mold seams I've seen. And then, some more little fiddly detail work. Before we go ahead and get to a part that I would have had a rant about Tamiya here, or the kit. But, well, I'll be honest. I jiggle this thing because mechanical tolerance is a thing you should account for in anything you make, especially injection molded bits. Tamiya, the company, did that here. I'm sure inspired by Tamiya the man. And I would rant about Tamiya quality, but now I know what that means 1 and 2. And it feels like harvesting sympathy, and that's a dick move to me. So we're just going to get back to the part where I get back to the model here, doing the basic prep work and putting things together. And yeah, this part's going to get hacked up a bit. You're going to see that because that's my foul up, because guess what? You see those little yellow bits of tape on the instructions I put on? Yeah, I decided not to follow things quite in order because I wanted to make them faster and thought I'd do better. And I should have probably paid just a little more attention instead of using the instructions as kind of like a piece of newspaper. Although then again, let's be honest, all the instructions get used as newspaper. And yep, there we go. This is one of the nacelles of the engine and everything. That little like cup thing you see at the end, that's over. It was over part of the thing near step 23. Well, it's actually a cup for one of those, steel balls that are softer and smaller than mine, and less numerous. But yeah, they serve as ballast. And it's nice that they included it in this kit. And as you can see, there I am gluing some things in, not gluing some other things in place, and yeah. But, yeah, as you can see, there I am, going ahead, putting together the, nacelles and whatnot. And I only put one of them together on camera. I actually put the second one together off camera. I was trying to save space at the time before realizing, wait a minute, I have some spare cash. Let's go ahead and get some good SD cards, which I have now. And then you'll use those SD cards to record longer videos, and sadly increase the space between my vids. We're going to go ahead and talk about that in just a sec, but seeing pictures of my hair and me making this ASMR! Come on, we all know that that's how it gives our brains the scritchy scratchies in all the folds. And besides shots of me working through these model screws, gluing little sub-assemblies together and whatnot, yeah, about the vids getting a bit further spaced out. So because I have more memory to work with, and because it just fits better into my schedule, I was trying for once a month, but let's face it, it's kind of already been once every other month at this point, so I'm kind of going to work around that sort of framework, although I will try to improve video quality.
Alright, there is something wrong with this picture. I mucked this up a little bit, so this should have been in the wings before I went and did all this kind of fancy work, but there's ways that I can repair this. If I cut here and I cut here, we'll be fine, because there'll still be some supports for everybody. This again is a model, so it doesn't have to be the strongest of things, and it'll be workable. Although I have to say, I do respect that they did this for, you know, strengthening and stuff. I was a dum-dum here. This is not a Tamiya problem, this is a me problem. But I can fix a me problem. All I need is a bit of a saw, and a bit of liquor to dull the pain.
Yeah, well, I don't need liquor to dull the pain for me. It would have been nice of me to liquor up that piece before cutting it up. And then I run through this spray painting, but that's kind of pain for all of us. So how about we I've sped that up a little bit more, but yeah. There we go. See, sped it up, made it a little easier, a little less pain for all of us. It's white. This was actually a mix between primer and an undercoat of some kind. And then I went ahead and after running it through main paints, I'm painting all the little details that exist that are not the base color now. I'm using a brush for that. My thought process was the main color of a piece and its little bits that are attached, go ahead, paint that with the airbrush, serves as primer, serves as base layer, and then go ahead and paint over stuff with the paintbrush, because I got a little bit, a measure, not a bunch, but a measure of precision in that, to try to make things kind of nicely come together, That way I have, airbrush and primer, and then I have, brush paints on top, and then, more interesting details intermixed with then. But that's besides the point. But yeah, so yeah, that's kind of how I've been painting, So airbrush over plastic or primer. And you see here a bunch of other things, and here I am doing a bit of a fine touch painting as the camera kind of moves in its mount over a long time scale before I move it to a different place and go ahead and make my own kind of pin oil wash to have getting the cracks with some actual oil paint and some of the AK odorless thinners. You'd probably use watered down purified mineral spirits, but that didn't quite work with me once. But again, it was odorless mineral spirits. There's probably some other product that mucked it all up. But what I didn't muck up was painting over the dark parts of where the superchargers went, and then go ahead and paint a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, this plane, actually just a break to a little side about the plane, had some pretty interesting engines for the time. But we're not really going to get to so much of that because this is about the model.
Alright, so I had this nice painted piece. Why is it all scuffed up? It ended up on the floor and under my chair. You know what? Interestingly enough, now I could whine about that and kind of throw this away. Here's the thing. It's actually... there we go. It isn't nearly as bad as it could have been. It's reasonably intact as a piece, so I could probably fix this. Or because these pieces I think are the same, I could just, make a version of that one or something.
Alright, and then I go after, saying, oh hey, I squished this piece. I go ahead and work on the cockpit a little bit again, just to clean it up a little bit before finally I'm going to start with decals on that cockpit piece after painting over all the interior areas the color they kind of need to be to serve as a base layer.
Alright, decal time. So, these kits come with decals and they give you the number. I like that they did that in that manner. That's nice. Go ahead, very carefully cut this thing out. The best I can here.
After a bit of work. So basically my decal process is putting a paint palette well, soften up with decal softener paper, and put it on the piece.
Alright, so honestly the decal went on pretty good. for a decal. I actually don't love decals that much. For the reason that I feel what happens is it just goes way too wrong too fast. So yeah, because you can see I get some like wrinkles going on. I've hit this with a ton of decal setter here. It's actually not bad. It smells like it's vinegar, and I'm tempted to try vinegar. But like, this is part of why I like to do it the other way with the photo etch kits, like the pre-painted photo etch stuff, because to me it just comes out better and cleaner. But hey, if you want to, if I really wanted to do it with this decal, though, I guess what I could have done is modify the daylights out of this piece even further, drilled out all of those little dials, thinned it out, and then had like a back piece and slid this under.
Back to it we go. Besides some painting other little details and bits, you see all those other little pieces of the model. I end up putting them in and attaching them in before you know, we got too far along. But yeah, they even have pre-cut masks. I cannot say enough good things about these guys. And by too far along, I mean to the part where I've put the whole model together and given it some additional coats. But of course, I got to coat the, you know, windows and everything, which I'm doing here a little bit. With those, and they weren't pre-cut, by the way. They were, in fact, just, you know, traced onto a piece so you can work with them. As you can see here, I guess it's kind of forgivable that they did not pre-cut those, because you ain't going to get that kind of precision easily off of a die cutter or a laser cutter. So just a bit much. But yeah, then of course you mask the thing up, you look at the instructions a little bit to make sure you put some things in, and then if you're wanting to maybe put some further cockpit details in, you go ahead and use blue tack to hold everything in place. And then, besides putting the rudders in with some glue, you kind of forget about everything, and then you start going to painting everything over. You'll also see you see a little bit of masking there. You'll see me putting on a little bit more masking after doing some seam sanding with the wings and doing some touch-up in some areas. The touch-up I had to be kind of careful with, fuss with a little bit, just because the Tamiya paint didn't quite match exactly the Vallejo, but that's okay. You can kind of work with that, cover things up, try to blend things in a little bit. And then, of course, when you're finally ready, you know, paint things over, you put tape over areas you really don't want to get nailed. And then I use that kind of like thin sausage all around the edge between where green and sky was going to be, as a kind of way to make the camouflage line between those blades. Of course, what I should have done is thought of the sky paint before I started doing things, and then made like a big bottle of it with a precise mix, which I'll be able to do in the future, but I wasn't quite able to do here. And then after everything is said and done, I go ahead and I start kind of painting things over, doing a bit of a touch-up work here and there. You know, just trying to even out the colors a bit so it looks a bit more appropriate to the scale. Before eventually I start putting in pieces. Like this wheel here that we're watching me paint in normal speed, just because, well, you deserve to at least know I really did take some level of time. Not just some level of time to show my big bald spot out here, which seems to be showing up a heck of a lot more than I thought. Well, there's a reason Rogaine was invented, I guess. There's also a reason why this brush cleaner was invented. Brush cleaner was invented for a useful purpose, to clean your brushes. Rogaine was invented to help guys that are bald and feel more manly, which, really, dude, like, really, wear that bald patch of pride, buddy. It means you've been here for a while. Anywho, there I am, gluing in and putting in some wheels and some, you know, landing bay doors before doing a bit more patch-up work and trying to blend in the superchargers, or I guess turbo superchargers that are part of these engines. Yeah, these engines had both. They were mechanical masterpieces in their own right, I guess. But here I am, just painting over some areas that needed a bit of, you know, kind of better blending in. And then putting in some decals and kind of wishing I'd followed the instructions on this kit, rather than having to work with these really hard to work, you know, just thin and fiddly things. But you know what I was happy about? Disobeying the directions here. This is for the propellers. You see that I did some painting them over with a white here and then a yellow. But why would I do that? Well, I'm going to cover up the edge tips with some masking tape, as you see here. And then you're going to see me paint them all black. So this model had decals with it that emulated those yellow tips, but I find that this trick where I just paint the tips yellow with the spray brush, the airbrush, and then I go ahead and do them up after, so it's like a paint on paint to get the yellow effect. I find that to be so much better and so much more workable and just accurate, better in every way imaginable on this first go. Okay, I'm really putting in some filler words here while I take apart these masking bits. Okay, at least they went onto the plane fine, but that's because well, I would say things, but we're not going to do that. Anywho, here I am, putting some more paint in places with the airbrush. And then I go ahead and I start putting some little extra doodads and do-bits along, and covering up the applications with my bald spot. But then, here's a little experiment that I had to do, which was, I had some difficulty previously, or another time, with the not clear, the matte finish, the flat finish, right? That I had that was clear. So I decided, take a piece of plastic, paint it the color that covers most of my model in places, right? And then go ahead and with, different thinner to paint mixes, go ahead and see what makes the, paints happy to have gloss and flat. Here's the results.
Alright, so I'm not sure if the gloss is fully dried yet, but on the outer periphery you can see it glosses up pretty good of where I sprayed it. And yeah, the flat looks still flat. So it seems to be drying more here than there. So honestly, I think that the 1 to 2, 1 paint, 2 thinner is the ratio that I'm going to use. I mean, I might try a 2 to 3 on the gloss because I know that gloss is, able to do that really good. But yeah, this is actually a really nice ratio as well. This might increase my thinner consumption a little bit depending on other paints, if that's besides the point. Alright, figured I'd share.
Hey, 1 paint to 2 thinner is better than 1 cup to 2 girls, huh? No? And yeah, well, here's some better news. Me, gloss painting this model for decal effect.
Hey. So you know what you get when you got a glob of some paint or something that's gone on in the wrong place, and you try to wipe it off? This shit right here. Which is irritating because I can actually can see like a divot that's created. So I'm gonna have to be creative in how I address this.
Nah, I just had to cover it with more paint, Brute force and ignorance. It's not, the best approach to problems, but it is the one that works if you're applying enough brute force. And after I applied the brute force of decal glass, I go ahead and put on the decals in hopes to keep that sheen down. It doesn't quite work, sadly, but, it seems to have helped a little bit. Like, if you're looking at the right angle.
Okay, so I'll just do this and just, regular speed and, not try to clip it too much to hell. But, yeah. So, the reason you'll see, with me at least, as I go through this decal sheet that it's in, ends up getting a bunch of weird holes cut out in it, is because you're supposed to dip this thing in water or some other liquid. But, as you can see, this piece might not so nicely fit into the wells of my thing here. Yeah, my little palette. So what I have to do is actually work it over a little bit, cutting it into small bits until it will fit. In this case, is a bad example because it's just barely fitting in there. You can see it right there. But yeah, usually this actually does help quite a bit. And by doing it, I can do a few at a time. Kind of take my time with it, try to line them up good. And while I'm still seeing some decal sheen, I'm hoping that I can kind of get rid of it before putting a few more coats of the gloss on, and then putting a couple coats of the flat on. That way, try to hide the decal sheen effect that happens.
As I said, if you look at the right angles, it helps with the decal sheen. Not a ton, but it helps a little bit, I find. We'll see it in a little bit, maybe in this spin around I do, if my bald spot isn't blocking everything. Maybe I should call this channel the richest bald spot channel, huh?
Alright, so, little thing. Often, when people look at history, there's a lot of the whole thing of wow, people were really stupid back then. They thought leeches would be healthy. They thought tapeworms were great for diet, a substitute for, diet and exercise. But, well, a lot of, this would at first, as some people think, be a really dumb idea. These big reflective thingies that I'm going to be putting on these nacelles, the lower parts of them, right? Now, you'd think, wait, you're trying not to be seen by everybody for miles and miles. Can't a mirror, call for help or glint and tell somebody something's there at 50 miles away? Well, yeah. But here's the thing. I'm pretty sure I know what these would be used for. And it'd be one of those things where, yeah, that makes total sense. You see, they didn't have frickin' backup cameras back then. You know what they did have, though? Mirrors. Mirrors you could look through, and I bet they were placed there to tell the guy, oh, hey, yeah, there's something under you. Right? Think about that for a minute. I'm often surprised, not by how dumb people were when putting these models together, or looking into stuff or how things went together, but how freaking ingenious everything was. For instance, my Dreadnought model. I was actually quite impressed with the fact they put the coal bunkers in the outside, because my thought was, oh yeah, that's free armor. Going on from the Dreadnought, it's actually really smart that they put the mine store in the bow, because that makes a really explosive finish if you're desperate enough to ram. Unless it's a submarine. But then the submarine's already sinking, so it sinks because that's its job, and it's doing half the work for you.
And while I do a little more decal work here, the thing with having your mine store and your ramming bow is probably that if you're that desperate and you ram your enemy, if it's not a submarine, they're not doing half the work for you because they're already skyward. You're doing half the work for them.
Alright, here's a problem. Here's an error, if you will. You'll notice something. That's on the top side of the tail surface, right? According to this dear decal sheet, that's supposed to be on the bottom. At this point, here, decal sheet, see? That's the bottom.
Now, if this were a Boeing plane putting the stabilizer upside down, a lot of planes would probably be okay today, because what was it, that MCAS system crashed them into the ground or something? I'm sorry, but Boeing deserved absolutely every jab of that. I don't care if my bald spot is there making me look less virile or virile or whatever in this. Seriously, they deserve it. And as I'm going and pulling off all these nice little bits of masking from the cockpit, I think I wished I had done a little more to cover up the, metal bits or where the members were for the canopy bit. But there I am, just with these brushes, touching up everything else. Superchargers and adding a few details. As you can see there, I'm trying to add some chipping without this broken piece of sponge and probably make it a little better. I was thinking of using chipping fluid, but I mucked that up at this thing. But again, being that this is meant to be more of a quick thing and to enjoy a very well-made model kit, not the biggest loss. But here I am, I'm doing a bit more, cleaning up, detailing, the kind of pin wash with my own, run of, it's panel liner, just thinned out oil paint with actual white spirit. And then it's after that, and a bit more of, just the stippling and whatnot of making the paint chips and other weather. And I go ahead and fill in some of the light things. And, yeah, here we go.
Alright. So I was gonna skip out on doing the nose art, just, wanted to get the video out earlier for you guys, and, moving on to things. But, the video's gonna take time to edit, and just, I can't bring myself to not try to put some kind of nose art on this. So, that's what I'm gonna do, assuming this camera doesn't have this little hissy fit with recording stuff again, and that, oh yeah, I have to do this right. I'm right-handed, so I'm not going to be able to do the other side. So, and the propeller comes off because, well, Tamiya designed this really nicely so the propellers could spin.
Yeah, nose art's kind of demanded here. I mean, it was a great model kit. I do feel like I should have done a little more to make it awesome. Here's me trying to put like the nose art of Courageous Christian. Trying to draw up like a little crusader going on, you know, with like a red robe, you know, just, you know, because red's Christian, my son's favorite color. And here we go, spinning around. Ready? You spin me right round, baby. Right round, round, baby. Right round, round, round. Someone told me I should like do like a spin of the model or whatnot. I figured, you know, that, you know, doing it deadpan like that'd be a bit of a mockery. I'm actually really proud of that, you know, Crusader though. My first attempt at non-metallic metal, and it looked pretty good to me, all things considered.
Alright. So, I'm kind of getting towards the done end of the spectrum, I guess, on this thing. I think it looks pretty good at this point. Also, the video is definitely a bit late coming out. I'm gonna be honest. I should have, if I really wanted to paint a good bit of nose art, I should have done that much earlier than this step in the process. Which kind of sucks, but it happens. Let's see, so is that the way? I think so. That's it, gotta be the way, yep, okay. Come on, get in there proper, you sucker, come on. There we go. Come on, you fucking bastard. Come on. What the hell? Come on. Really, dude? You give me a bitch now. You didn't get the whole... Oh, wait, you backwards. Being a douche canoe. Oh, yeah, you're being a douche canoe because you're just backwards. Okay, sorry. Stop. Come on, stop being shit. Stop being shit, start being useful. Come on, like on fucking camera too, you bet. There, see? Now you're part of this fucking solution. Sure, guys. Alright, let's see. Hit this in a few places then. Namely there. Just to help hold this all down a little better. Alright. There's shrunk again. Alright. And then hit this up with the black light, because why not? And because that's how that other thing cures. Come on, come on. There we go. And hope it doesn't seep into my skin and cause horrible things to happen to me. But before I go ahead and, you know, lead you out, I'm Rich. I build stuff. This is kind of just a one-shot for me. Figured I'd try something a little new and see how it worked. If you liked it, please tell me. If not, well, I'm sorry. Okay, probably gonna go get some footage of this at some point on a little pedestal, and, well, time to do the YouTube dance of, like, share, subscribe, hooray! Peace out.